One of the many advantages of working with us and why we've been really successful with client projects lately is because the clients, they're not based in Marbella, they don't speak the language, they use it as a holiday home or as a second, third investment they do on the side, as a property flip they do besides their main job. And we are here on the ground, we've got the experience since 12 years now of developing here, and we speak Spanish perfectly. So with us, the advantage the client has is that he doesn't actually need to be in the country, but there's a clear quality control and analysis of the project every single month and a clear process that we follow with each project. What does the process look like? Usually once a client contacts us, we then arrange a meeting at their site. This could be a small 2-bedroom apartment all the way to a big villa, where we speak about the intentions and what the client wants to achieve. Is it to renovate it for their own holiday or private use? Is it to flip it in a resale? Or is it potentially to rent it out after? Once we have established a clear goal from the client and a clear aim, what he wants to do with the project, we then provide a free quotation from our builders, usually within 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the size of the site, and then have another follow-up meeting and discuss this quotation with the client. Once the quotation is signed off, we then start to look at the contracts and the legalities of it. So we have an in-house lawyer at Helios Homes and also an in-house architect with whom we then start preparing the license process, which is different depending on whether it's a renovation. It's quite easy if the footprint is not being changed, opposed to if it's, for example, a new build or complete renovation with an extension of the actual footprint as it is before the project starts. And then from there on, we then set the start date. Once the actual process starts, once the renovation starts, we then have bi-weekly site meetings with the client if he's in the country. If he's not in the country, then he receives status of reports and updates on a weekly basis, and also videos that we do on site every week. The clients often ask me also, what are the most important aspects? What do we need to pay attention to make sure this project goes to plan? And it's usually, first of all, choosing the right builder. That's very, very important. And also having watertight contracts. Because I've seen everything happen in Marbella, from beautifully finished sites to other sites where the builders walked off because there was legal disputes with the clients. And in order to avoid that, you need to choose the right client project manager, you need to choose the right builders, and you need to have really good contracts. And this is something at Helios Homes that we do for our clients together with our in-house lawyer. The second issue that can also arise is legal issues or licensing issues. What many people don't do, or if you don't know the process, is that builders often, on behalf of their clients, they don't apply for the right license or they don't mention everything in the license process, and this can create problems later on down the line. So what we do, we always have our in-house architect help us together file the licenses, file the applications, and make sure everything's included and there can be no surprises for the clients later on. So with our usual renovation, it's always important to also have an understanding between the client and the builder. So there's always some unforeseen things that happen. It's just the nature of the game. It wouldn't be serious for builders to tell you that this is what it's going to be, where everything is going to run smoothly and perfect. There's always some things in property development that can happen. And what we always advise our clients is to allow a 10% buffer on time and a 10% buffer on budget. Usual timelines is a question I often get asked because everybody always wants to have their project finished as soon as possible. Of course, we all want to, but it's typically very similar. So for an apartment of 2 or 3 or 4 bedrooms, we're normally looking at 6 months, maybe 7 months if you include the furnishing process and interior design. And on houses, from small houses, we're normally at 9 to 10 months for complete renovations. So that's like your typical 3, 4, 5 bedroom house. If it's bigger, if it's a mansion, if it's 6, 7 bedrooms, then it can take up to 12 months. But that's a process that's then transparent and is ongoing throughout without any interruptions, without any breaks. And it's a realistic timeline. We often get told by clients, oh, I've been promised this or this. And we know as builders and developers that those timelines are not realistic. But to get clients, often builders tell them magical timelines that are just not achievable. But realistically, you're looking at 6 months maximum for apartments and about 1 year maximum for complete big house renovations. Often clients also ask us about prices per square meter, or what they can expect, what type of materials will be involved in this or included. And this varies a lot. We've had an apartment in Puente Romano that's been renovated for almost $1 million and was just 3 bedrooms. Then we've had townhouses that were 3 bedrooms and we renovated them for $200,000. So it very much depends on what the end purpose is of the property, who the client is, how expensive the property is to start with. So how much sense does it make to go all out on this property, or should it be a smaller renovation because budget is the biggest factor or the most important factor to the client. So it can vary a lot. And then of course materials make a big difference. Are you using porcelainic tiles that are quite efficient in terms of price and competitive? Or do you go for something fancier like marbles and real stones? So all these, or parquet flooring maybe. So all these things can make a big difference, but usually if it's intended for resale, budget is our #1 priority. If you use us as your client project managers, we have a tender process for our houses. So we compare different quotes and provide you with the best one and advice on such. You can also put forward your own builders. There's a very transparent tender process. We then have an in-house lawyer, we have an in-house architect, and we also have corporate discounts at most of the major shops and fabrics here in Marbella. So whether it's tiling, whether it's parquet flooring, whether it's bathroom items, sanitary ware, we have relationships with all the big stores here. We receive discounts there and we pass them on to our clients, which already just for that makes our builds much more efficient than if you just go to a builder and try to get it all in one hand. So right now we're sitting in a house that my brother and I developed together with one business partner, and we understand what it's like when your own money is at stake, when you invest it, when you're on a timeline, when you're on a budget, and you need to achieve a return. And that's what it comes down to, is that we know exactly what it feels like to be our client, because we've done it ourselves and we're still actively doing it, and we're just trying to bring in all our experience to make this process as efficient as possible and with a clear goal in mind to achieve a return for our clients. Additionally, what are the advantages of working with us is that we have plenty of experience by now. My brother and I, we have completed 25 projects ourselves as developers, plus now over 12 projects on behalf of clients just in the last few years alone. And this ranges from Soto Grande all the way to Malaga, and as mentioned, goes from small bedrooms to big villas. So we know what it feels like to be our client. And on top of that is that we speak Spanish, we know the locals, we've worked with several building companies over the years, so we have a wealth of experience there to draw from. And also is that our clients are not required to be here. And this is one of the big things, is they need someone trustworthy at their side, who they can rely on, who picks up when they call, or who shows them around, who reports them back when needed, and who executes what their main objectives is, in which for most developers is to have a return at the end of the day. So we know how some other project managers work, we know how other builders work, and what we pride ourselves on is that once we agreed on a quotation from our builders or different builders that may have been put forward to us by the actual developer that they want us to include, we then close the quotation process, and this also includes our fee. So our fee is also closed from the beginning once we have set on a tender, and this doesn't change anymore. So interests need to be aligned in the sense that if the client suddenly decides to put marble everywhere or put a roof terrace on top at an indoor spa or gym, these things, they need to be in line with our interest, that the build stays within budget regardless, and there's no interest from our side whatsoever to make the build more expensive. The aim is to provide the client with a return at the end of the day.